Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everyone. Thank you for joining today, our workshop, where if you're here, it's probably because you're looking to develop your professional career and acquire new skills. And that's what it's all about here at the Intern Group. We want to help you to realize your potential through international internships. So you might be participating in one of our programs or looking to participate in one of them. You're at the right spot. We offer remote, hybrid, and in-person opportunities across the globe that help you elevate your career, build experience, and get to know an international community. Some of our interns that might be in here can vouch for that the experience is truly amazing. So if you joined the event today and you signed up for our workshop, it means that you're eager to learn and probably learn more on how to prepare your curriculum and launch your career and start that whole job searching process, which I know can generate some anxiety. And that's why Marilyn is here to talk to us all about it and how to prepare. Before I introduce you to Marilyn, I do want to give a shout out to our open learning platform. We launched an online free platform full of content from how to develop your curriculum to prep for your first job. It's online and free. You can register on the link that is shared there by Manami. So whatever you see there is totally complementary to what we're going to talk about today with Marilyn. And I know, Marilyn, that you requested if everybody could have their CVs or a potential job description. Why? Because this is a workshop and we're going to get you working so that you can take results and applicable action items. That means insights that you can start applying right now after the workshop. So please take your CV, if you have it on your email, on Google Drive, download it, have it close to your computer, close to you right now. And as well, if you can, some job posting that you're interested in applying to. That's going to come in handy for the activity that we have later on. Now, I'm really excited to introduce to you our amazing speaker, Marilyn Rosa Green. She's the founder of MRCS and a leadership and HR consultant. That's why she's the best person to give this workshop today. And yeah, that's it. We're ready, Marilyn. I think we set the ground a little bit. If people start joining, guys, you have the Slido on the chat. You have whatever you need. Just drop us a message there and we'll help you. Marilyn, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. I want to say hello to everybody. And I want to just, before I get started, tell you that there is so much information out there about what to do with your resume, right? I just want to tell you, I try to not make this overwhelming because I could spend probably 4 hours talking about different things you can do with your resume. So I just want to let you know that I thought of just 5 easy tips, and I took into consideration that all of you are in different parts of the world. So that's really important to keep in mind, that the format, that the look will depend on where you are, but also the industry that you're going into, the role. So there's just a lot of different factors. I look at this as a live document. Okay. This is something if I tell you how many times I personally have reinvented the wheel or edited my resume, you wouldn't believe, right? I mean, I think at one point, 1 year in my career, I updated it once every 3 weeks or something like that, just because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget a lot of things. And it kept changing and it kept getting longer and then shorter. So just breathe easy. These next tips here are going to give you a good idea of what things you can do now. But it's a live document. So it's a journey. It's not like you write it today and you're not going to edit again until you apply for another job. Always keep in mind that you want to continue to update your resume. So here we are, 5 game-changing tips to elevate your resume. Next slide. All right. So these are very practical tips, regardless of the industry you're in, where you live, your resume is the first opportunity you have to make a good impression. And I think maybe not, but most of us have heard that recruiters, I'm guilty of that, only take a few seconds to review your resume. Okay. So it's really important that it's sharp. Right. And so first impression, just keep that in mind. And that's going to means something different to every person, right? So make sure that you throw in your personality as well, you know, your own style. All right. So what you want to do is really make sure when you're putting out this first impression here is that you're showcasing your talents, your strengths, your contributions. Contributions, that's a key word there. Experience and skills and education, and that these match the job that you're applying the best possible. Okay, not 100% match, but best possible. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the first thing I recommend is that you think like an employer. Okay, so at this point, if you haven't searched for the job posting you're interested in, I want you to go really quickly and do a search online and look for a job that you're interested in applying, because I want you to take a look at it. And I want you to try to put yourself in the shoes of the employer, the person that wrote this job posting. What are they really looking for? Are you noticing any repetition in the words or requirements? Is there any extra emphasis? Like, are there any words that are in bold or maybe capital letters? Maybe they're putting certain things at the top versus the bottom of the job description. Again, any patterns, anything very specific, like any certifications or any very specific things, just make sure that yes, you want to read it from your angle and think, is this something that I see myself doing? Do I like the company? All those things are really good, but make sure you're also thinking like an employer if you can, right? Okay. Excuse me. And see, you know, as you review your resume, then you have the job posting. You have the job posting in one side and you have the resume in the other. And you start to see how relevant your experience is compared to that job posting. Okay. It's not 100% match. I highly encourage you to still apply for a job, even if you don't match everything 100%, right? Even if it says, I need someone with like 8-10 years of experience and you only have 4 or 5, but you have all these other good things about you, or maybe something even of a bonus, like a lot of you may be bilingual. Believe it or not, that's a great skill to have. It's a great way to brand yourself. Don't think just because, oh, big deal, I learned another language at home, you know, maybe they're not requiring it. It doesn't matter. It definitely sets you apart. So try to see how your resume, how you can spark it up, and what things from your resume are relevant or similar to what you see in your job posting. So a lot of you, I can't see you all, but I don't see a lot of cameras on. So I would love to see some cameras on. If you can give me like a thumbs up to see if you found your job posting, that would be great. And then I want to point out that this may get a little bit interactive. I know there's a lot of you, so it's hard to get everybody to you know, be able to participate. But if you can also write in the chat as well, or I saw someone doing like a thumbs up, that would be great. Okay. And so, yeah, I think let's go to the next slide. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a really good one. Quantify your achievements. This is something that we often miss. Excuse me. I got my tea here. Let me sip on some tea. All right. So this is something sometimes that we miss because we want to let the employer, the person that we are applying to, or, you know, the hiring manager, that we can say, like, here's an example, you know, assisted with marketing campaigns. This is something that you were in charge of, that you did. But I really encourage you to think about what you write in your resume, those bullet points. These are responsibilities that you've had, things that you've done, but I want you to change them up to quantify them. So what contributions have you made, right? And I say quantify because companies are really interested in knowing results. Okay. So they want to know what you're capable of, and quantifying your achievements really lets the employer know what you're really capable of, because they're going to have certain metrics, they're going to have certain goals, and they want to see where you're at in being able to meet those goals. Okay. And I know sometimes in certain jobs may seem hard to maybe quantify, but there's always a way to make this more quantitative as opposed to descriptive or qualitative, if you will. Okay. So this would be a good place to pause here, because I want to make sure, I do want to go through the slides, but I want to kind of pause here. And maybe we can do an example if someone is brave to participate. I would love a volunteer, and see if you can share something about your resume that you're thinking, okay, this is a great contribution, this is a great achievement. How do I quantify that? Okay. And I'm happy to walk you through it. You don't have to give me the answer. Just tell me maybe what that achievement is, and we can work together in quantifying it. Is anybody interested in jumping in?
Marilyn, I suggest we give a few seconds because
Okay.
I'm going to be the first one to admit that we can sometimes be shy in these spaces.
There's
But
not a problem.
I'm going to invite anybody that, if you're currently doing an internship or have done in the past, and to rephrase what Marilyn said, one project or initiative that you worked on and that you want to understand how to quantify it, to add it to your curriculum and raise the level of your current CV.
Yeah, I think someone wrote something on the chat, and I think this is the great one. It came from Dan Umwa. Am I saying that right? Okay. Okay, and it says train students and equip them to Azure cloud skills. I might be mispronouncing that. That sounds like it's a name of maybe a software. Okay, so one way that we can quantify is, well, tell me how many students, right? That's a great way, because it's very different to say 5 people than to say 100, right? Another way you can add more of a numeric aspect to this would be, okay, so number of students, perhaps over the course of how many months or years, right? That's another way. It could be like, if it was, say, there's different ways you can do this. So if it was an ongoing process, so you can also add, worked closely with 25 students over the course of 3 months. Or you can also do the number of hours of training if you think that's more impactful. So was it 5 hours daily? Was it 20 hours weekly? Was it a total of 240 hours over the course of 4 months? Right? I can keep going, but you see what I'm saying? Like, you can just try to think of numerically. Now, this is one part of it, but also think about what you achieved with them. So were you able to increase some kind of knowledge? Did they have, maybe they took a quiz and maybe had like a 90% success rate. So anything that tells me that you succeeded in implementing this training, and it showed because the students did well, that's a great way to quantify the achievement. Is it starting to make more sense? Can I get a thumbs up? Awesome. Okay, great. Again, at first you think, well, how am I going to quantify this? Like, I didn't increase sales by 50% or whatever. It doesn't matter. Think about this sentence right here and just start taking baby steps. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just take the next step to enhance it just a little bit, and it just really goes a long way. Okay. Were there any other examples? Oh, wow. Okay. I see someone share their resume on here. Okay. Ah, yes. Okay. So I'm seeing the screenshot here, and yeah, it could use a lot of, I see a lot of great things, but yeah, you want to quantify this a little bit more. So it says here, manage event logistics and enhance visitor experiences through effective relations and demonstrations. Okay, so that is a great way that you have explained this. That's beautiful. But again, how can we quantify this a little bit more? So maybe tell me what kind of result you got from managing these event logistics, and how did you enhance the visitor experience? What did this result in? Did it get more, was the productivity increase? Was the number of and I'm not sure what the company is or what they did exactly. It says School of Math Students Ambassadors. So I would have to ask a few more questions on this to give you to tell you precisely what to say. But I would think it in terms of results. What problem did this solve by you doing this? And how did you implement effective relations and demonstrations? How many demonstrations did you do? What did you do to ensure that you had effective relations? Let's see. Okay. These are all really good things. I like the one at the bottom, facilitated communication between students and faculty through student staff liaison committees. This is great. I mean, it really, I can see a lot of great customer relations. I can see great interpersonal skills in here. And you don't actually have to tell me these things, but I can see based on how you've formulated these sentences that you have all of these qualities. So that's great. So I would say, how many facilitations did you execute? How many students were involved? Tell me a little bit more about the size of the school, perhaps. We're talking about a 10,000, group of students, or we're talking 200. So if you can quantify that a little bit more, it really makes your resume pop, right? Just like in this example here on the screen. Right? For example, instead of saying assisted with marketing campaigns, say manage a 5,000 marketing campaign that resulted in a 20% increase website traffic. Very different. Okay, awesome. Next slide. Thank you so much for sending those messages and sharing that resume on the chat. That's great. Okay, so showcase transferable skills. I hear that, well, it's called the intern group, right? So because of the organization, we're talking, most of you are probably either graduating high school or college, or you're pursuing the beginning of your career development, most likely. So sometimes, when I talk to people with this level of experience, there's a lot of concern that maybe I don't have the experience yet. I don't have the skills yet. That's totally okay. You'd be surprised how many skills you are able to showcase in your resume that are completely transferable. Even if you did tutoring or babysitting, or you work at a pub, or like you picked up trash in your neighborhood. You like, believe me, I did all of those jobs and all of them probably at the same time at one point. I get it. Believe me, you can, regardless of where you are in your career, you can have certain skills in your resume that are transferable. And what that means is that perhaps one job is requiring that you have inventory management skills, and you've never worked with inventory management. So what skills can we think of that can be transferable to inventory management? Did you ever have to empty out, all your closets at home and rearrange them and figure out what you have and get rid of old stuff? And like, totally two different things, but think of any projects that you've done, whether it's at home or at a different job or your internship, where you had to keep track of everything that you had, reorganize, get rid of things, And so it's not about having exactly what the employer is looking for, but it is about a lot of times your aptitude to be able to do the job, and 100% your attitude. 100%. That always has to. But remember that the first thing they see is your resume. So we have to, before we charm them with our good attitude, we have to first make sure that they can see that we have certain skills. Okay. All right. So I think across the board, there are certain skills that are great for regardless of what job you're going into. But I think that it's important to also do a little bit of research to see what type of skills are more desirable for certain positions or even certain companies, because a lot of companies have a very specific set of values. Okay. And so we want to make sure we understand the company we're working for, but also the role, right? What do they really appreciate the most? Okay. So, and you can use examples of, honestly, even extracurricular activities. When I was starting to apply right out of college, and I was applying for jobs during the 2008 recession, which was awful. I literally decided to stay another year in college because I spent 8 months applying for jobs and I couldn't even get an interview. The unemployment rate in the United States was so high. It was pretty rough. So, I learned through that process that I went ahead and I got involved in like committees in college. I did volunteer work. I did all these different things. And as I was developing my resume, I realized that there's a lot of accomplishments. There's a lot of things, a lot of skills that I learned through volunteering work, to extracurricular activities. And they're not going to live in my resume forever, but to get me to the next step, they were so helpful. It really did me a lot of favors. So highly encourage you to do that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so craft a compelling personal statement. Really, really interesting tip here, because most resumes, and this might not translate to some parts of the world, but a lot of resumes that I come across still to this day in the United States, they use objective right at the top, and personal statement and objectives are two different things. And you'll see, if like you follow any career coach on like TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, this is like something that has been brought up a lot I would say in the last couple of years. And I've used personal statement for many, many years. As I got good advice from an executive recruiter and told me about this. So basically, when you think of objective, right, you're generic, I'm interested in say an administrative assistant role that could help me use my I don't know, my skills and experience, like very generic, right? The difference between that, like say the goal or the job that you want to achieve, and your personal statements is that you are using this to create some type of pitch. This is who I am, right? The personal statement is who you are, in a very summarized way. And think about it in terms of, I would say, your brand, you know, who you are in two sentences, maybe three. What are you all about? And it's a combination of a few different things. Okay, so it could also be called a summary or a profile, but it is a very brief, tailored paragraph that provides an employer the insight to your unique qualities, your strengths, your career aspirations as well. And it gives the employer an immediate impression and a look at everything you've got to offer. Okay. And it can really set you apart from, other applicants having this personal statement and have it very well written. Okay, because there is a lot of information in your resume, right? And so you want to make sure you use this personal statement as a way to capture the most important things about your resume. Okay. So take a look at your resume. If you could do this right now, just take a look at your resume. And I would say pick 3 to 5 things that you're like really proud of, that you feel this is a great skill or experience, very related to what I want to do. This is my strength. This is a talent. Pick about 3 or 5 if you want to highlight it or make it in bold or whatever. Okay. And then those are the things that you want to use once you've identified that, how to craft a personal statement. So personal statements, can you go to the next slide? No, I'm not sure if there's, okay, yeah. So how to do it. Yeah. So you want to highlight your unique qualities, and you want to showcase your distinctive qualities, your experiences, your skills that make you a valuable asset to the company. I'm choosing valuable asset very intentionally here, okay? Because when you put yourself in the employer's shoes, they have to think, how would this potential new hire bring value to my team? How will they fit in? And it really is about a combination of things. It's not just a one thing. And so how can you showcase yourself as a valuable asset? The personal statement is a great spot to do it. Okay, it really is your way to stand out as much as you can. Okay. So here you can, mention your career goal and how they align with the position and the company's mission. You can show that you're not just searching for a job, that you know who you are, and that you're not afraid to really let your skills and your experience speak for themselves, and that you're very interested in this specific opportunity. Okay. So you can highlight your strengths here, identify the key strengths and competencies. So again, if you can look at your resume and see what is unique, like, do you have a lot of experience with certain software, with social media, or depending on the job that you're applying for, training. It really depends on the job that you're applying for, but look at these strengths, these talents in your resume, and then we want to bring them together. Okay, and really focus on the skills that are valuable. Keep it concise, so you don't want this to be like a long paragraph. Make sure that doesn't have to be one sentence at all. I mean, Can you imagine summarizing your whole resume in like one sentence? That's really tough to do. So I think about 2 to 3 sentences should do it. I think that 4 or 5, that's just too long. It looks too like bulky in the resume, and we want to keep it as clean and easy to read as possible. Make sure that it is very clear. That is very clear, and concise. And you can tailor this to each application. This is a question that I get asked all the time. Do I have to write a different resume for every job I apply? Look, you can do that if you want to, but who has time for that, right? It's too much. It's too much. So I recommend, it's a personal opinion, completely personal opinion. You can do what you wish. But what I recommend is that you use the personal statement to plug in the name of the role and the name of the company. And that's it. And then you keep the same resume, because typically we apply for very similar positions. It's not like you're applying to be, maybe you're applying to different jobs. So if you're applying to different industries, then yes, tailor your resume. But if you're applying to very similar jobs, very similar industries, then keep one resume, and then in the personal statement, just edit the name of the job and the company. Okay. All right. And I've said a lot of things here. I'm a talker. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have an example, because I know I said a lot of things, but it's like, okay, what does it look like, Marilyn? Get to the point. So here it is. So results-driven marketing professional with 5 years of experience in digital marketing, specializing in SEO and content strategy. Passionate about driving brand visibility and engagement. I'm eager to contribute my expertise to help company XYZ achieve its marketing objectives. Okay. And you can even add there, I'm eager to contribute as name of the job, say marketing specialist to help a company XYZ, etc. Okay. So what did I do? I looked at a resume and I say, okay, how many years of experience you have? What's your main focus, or what do you want to attract? Because you might have 2 different jobs in your resume, or 3 different jobs in your resume, and there's only one that's marketing, right? So if you're pursuing marketing, focus on that one. And then give them a little bit of an end of you. Are you really passionate about driving brand visibility? Are you very results oriented? Are you very detail oriented? Are you, and I know that detail oriented it's a bit of a maybe outdated term, but for certain roles, it really still is very important. It could be organized, it could be whatever the case may be. Okay. Hope this makes a little bit more sense when I'm talking about, your personal statement. This would be a great spot, by the way, to include languages that you speak if you're bilingual or trilingual or multilingual. This is a great place to do it. I didn't have this many years ago, and when I had my resume critiqued by an executive recruiter, and she told me, Marilyn, aren't you bilingual? I'm like, yeah, actually I speak a little bit of Portuguese too. And she goes, oh my God. She just went off on me. She's like, you have to put it on here. Like, but the jobs that I'm applying for, don't require it. Doesn't matter. This is amazing. Not everybody can speak 2-3 languages. Put it on here. So if that's you, put it in here. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So lastly is use a clean, consistent format. I'm not going to show you what formats to use. There's plenty of templates. If you use a Google Documents or Microsoft Word or whatever you use, there's plenty of templates out there. There's even AI tools now that help you put together a resume. Use whatever technology is available to you. Don't try to recreate the wheel. You don't have to do that. There's plenty of stuff out there. Canva, I see on the chat as well, is a great It's a great tool. Use that as well. Just, start somewhere. It's just got to be professional. It's just got to be organized, easy to read. Be consistent with the font. A lot of us that are reviewing resumes are so used to doing this. This really sticks out in our eyes when things are not aligned or you're using different, sizes, or just make sure everything flows and there's uniformity, right? Like everything is uniformed and nice to the eye, easy to the eye. Okay. There's going to be a structure to it. Okay. And then be very clear and clean about your message. So there's certain sentences, where if you can make it shorter, better, because it's easier to read. But remember, we always want to go for quality versus quantity. So don't make a sentence short for the purpose of just making it brief. Make sure it's a good quality sentence. All right, next slide. Okay, so it's a bonus tip. And it's totally up to you. Of course, you want to eliminate spelling and grammatical errors, but before you even have it sent out to someone to take a look at. But this is something I did personally that really changed the game for me. And it's having someone in your industry, or maybe even someone who there's two ways to go about this. You can either have a career coach or a recruiter take a look at your resume and give you a critique, or you can have a friend or a mentor within that industry or the job that you want to get to give you some feedback. You don't have to do everything that this person tells you, okay? You want to own your resume. This is your profile. You have to feel good about it, but be very open to the feedback, because there is a reason why they're giving you that feedback. So absolutely seek advice, seek help, have other people with fresh eyes take a look at it. It just has to be someone that you trust, someone who has experience, whether it is reviewing resumes or interviewing, or within that field or industry that you're applying. Okay. I think this is like an extra bonus tip I'm going to give you. Okay. Because I don't know if you're applying for jobs within your own country, somewhere else. I'm not really sure. So just keep this in mind, that when you're applying for resumes, make sure that you understand culturally what's expected of that resume, because their resumes, say in Latin America, are very different than in the US, right? Even the order of the jobs, right? Here in the US, we want to see the most recent job, right? In Latin America, most Latin American countries, in my experience, it's the opposite. And there's no limit to the length. I mean, it could be 5, 6 pages, the longer the better. And you start with the first job that you have. So that presents a challenge when you're using this lengthy resume in a different, order when you present it to someone in the US. So just keep that in mind, that there will be differences in the type of resume depending on even the country that you're applying for. All right. Is that the last slide? Remind me. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope I did okay with time. Might gotten over a little bit.
Yeah, we're good on time. We're good on time. We have a few minutes for the questions. So thank you so much, Marilyn, for your tips. I think they were great, especially for those that had their CV and their desired job posting opportunity there in their screen with them. We do have a few questions. I'm going to give a minute for everybody to drop their questions there on the link that Manami just dropped on the chat. So great. Should we go over to them then? There was a few on the chat. I'm going to go to those in a minute, but let's first answer the one we have on Slido. We had somebody ask, should I include my past experience in business development on my resume if I am transitioning to business analyst?
Should I include my business? Say it again.
Should I include my past experience in business development
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
resume if I'm
Yeah.
transitioning to business analysis. I understand they're like changing the focus of their
Yeah,
job and if it makes sense to include the previous one.
for sure. I think that I would have like some follow-up questions with this, but I'll just say that sometimes I've seen people hurt themselves and not including things that they don't think it's relevant that actually could have helped them and enhanced their resume. So I would say don't include things that are, and this probably won't be this group, but it does happen, and think about this in the future. If it's 15, 20 years old, you know, it's probably irrelevant, right? If you are applying for a business analyst job and you had a bartending job, then don't include the bartending job, right? So I think it really depends on that. If it's completely different or if it was a very long time ago, or if it's anything to do with like technology, if the software is dead or if maybe the company is closed, I would, there's certain things that you can still incorporate, but don't let it take too much space in your resume. So if you're transitioning from one, say, industry to another, or maybe a job to another, more specifically in this case, one job to another, I would try to keep the business development perhaps a bit more concise and emphasize the more analytical skills a little bit more, but I wouldn't necessarily take it out.
Yeah, I want to do a little bit of storytelling there, Marilyn, because what you
Mhm.
mentioned is true. When as like you continue advancing in your career changes. You make decisions, and depending on the job opportunities that you take, the challenges, etc. And for example, my curriculum, my first job was at an aesthetics center, and I was a receptionist there because it was like the first job that I could find. I was desperate to get some money and like get out into the world while I was studying. Um, and then if you look now in my LinkedIn, you don't see that in my curriculum. Not because it didn't open doors for me, but because it's not related to my current career. I mean, I don't do anything related to booking appointments and cleaning an aesthetic center. So I just wanted to do a little bit of storytelling, like to understand, like, yeah, I agree with you. If the job that you had before does add you skills to the job that you're looking for or have right now, definitely makes sense to leave it there or not. We do have a few questions in the chat. I'm going to go to the last one we have on Slido, which I found really interesting. That says, what should we say about ourselves when we write our about section in our CV?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the about section, I look at it as your personal statement, which is what we covered at the end. So I don't know if it answers some of the questions, but I would say that you want to highlight how many years of experience you have in the either industry or type of job or the skill or experience or what have you. Because say you're going into pharmaceutical, right? And you don't have any experience in pharmaceutical, but you're applying for, say, a business analyst position in that industry, and the job is requiring that you have pharmaceutical experience or is preferred. So you won't be able to highlight how many years of experience you have in pharmaceuticals, but you can highlight the number of years you have working in business development and analytics. A combined 5 years of experience in business development and analytics. Maybe you only have 2 years in analytics and 3 years in development. It doesn't matter. Combined, it has more of an impact the way that you present this. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, your curriculum is like it's like your marketing piece. It's a chance for you to sell yourself. So agreed, definitely. We have a few questions, so that we get to all of them, I'm going to jump to the next one. Somebody asked, I'm still doing my bachelor's. I don't have related experience yet, only part-time jobs. I don't have much to put for experience. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like you have had some part-time jobs. Any chance that they included the part-time jobs that they had?
No,
No.
it said
Okay.
the bachelor's is in computer science, and yeah, only part-time jobs. I'm going to copy it here,
And
but yeah.
yeah, and the bachelor's is completed. You're already done with college.
Still doing my bachelor's. It's in computer
Still doing it.
sciences.
Okay. So you still have an opportunity to join a committee. If you already are involved in any extracurricular activities, I highly encourage you to don't diminish the part-time jobs, right? Because you have to understand employers, they see that you're still in college or you're going to be graduating soon. They understand, or they should anyways, right? That you don't have a lot of relevant work experience, but they want to know that you've been employed, that you can show up to work, that you have good work ethic, and what kind of skills did you develop? What kind of things did you do there? So maybe, it's kind of one of those tips that I said, it's transferable skills. Maybe it's not exactly what they're looking for, but something similar to that. Mm-hmm. So whatever you can really spin this. I mean, and again, you won't want this to live in your resume forever. But if you were, I don't know, if you were a tutor, okay, and you had to prepare a lesson, you had to, say you had like if this happened to me, I had a student who had really bad anxiety, and they were having a really hard time responding to the flashcards when I was doing the exercise with them. And I said, you know what, why don't we take a break here and let's talk about how you're feeling. I'm noticing that you are a bit, nervous about the exam. Tell me about it. And we talked about it. So what did I do there? I am showing that I have a way to de-escalate, right? That I have a way to, develop a good relationship with someone. And that ultimately this person took the test and they had, that was a long time ago. So I'm just going to say 89, 90%, whatever the case was, but they did really well. And so, maybe it doesn't sound like it's very similar, but if you're going to go, say, into HR, as an HR assistant, you have to be able to show that you have good interpersonal skills and that you're organized and that you have good written skills. And as a tutor, there's a lot of transferable skills. So even if it was part-time or whatever the case may be, believe me, there's value in whatever work you did before. Just have to find the right words to express that.
Amazing. Thank you, Marilyn. We have 5 minutes left for questions. So I'm going to go ahead. This next one is from Zoe. She says, in Europe and the US, does the CV have to fit one page? Because I'm really struggling getting my degrees and experience on there without it looking cramped.
Sure. I think that this is definitely a very common question. I think it is a personal opinion. I think if you're going to sacrifice a great experience and valuable information, don't keep it to one page. It's okay to go to 2. What you don't want to do is do like one whole page and then on the next page have like one sentence. That would drive me insane as a recruiter. Like, really? That's a waste. So try to squeeze it into 1. But if you can make it 1.5, great. 2 pages, honestly, depending on the role, depending on the industry, 3 pages might be standard in certain jobs, right? I worked, my first job was working for an online Spanish teaching company. And most of the resumes I saw were 2 to 3 pages, just because it was, an academic type of role. We required a master's degree, some research. And so there was just more information that we need to have in these resumes. That makes total sense. Yeah, business management, marketing, usually 1 page will do it. Also, it depends on the level. If you're talking about an entry-level position versus an executive level role, 2 different lengths required for a resume, or not required, but maybe the standard is different. But yes, don't worry. If you have really great experience that you're like, how am I gonna, it's okay. Go to 2 pages. It's no big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in terms of education, oh, sorry, Zoe, go ahead. Thank you for
I was
your
just
microphone.
wondering, because right now, because I'm kind of working on it at the moment, so my first page is full of degrees, experience, and all of that. And then I just pretty much have my skills there and like my languages that I do want to put in there, but it's literally just like those 2 or 3 sentences that need to go in the second page. but I have some of my college courses highlighted in like on my first page under like my master's degree, obviously like what classes I've taken. So should I rather take those out or elaborate more on the classes to have more stuff on the second page?
For sure. I think that as an employer, I would be more interested to see what kind of participation you had or contributions you made while you were on campus versus the classes that you've taken. I think maybe if you had like a really high GPA, put the GPA in there. But other than that, I don't need to see all the courses. If that's taking up space, I understand that as you're starting, that helps kind of fill in your resume a little bit. But personally, I would make space by removing the list of courses, and then that way, if you only have that one sentence on the second page, move it to the first. I will also say that you may not even have to do that. Sometimes, depending on the format that we use, like I've taken a 2-page resume, believe it or not, and put it into 1 page, and without sacrificing basically any information, because number one, I summarized the sentences. And number two, the format changed. So where it's kind of hard to tell you without like actually looking at it, but there's templates where you can list your like a list of courses or your education into one side, right? Maybe even a smaller font, and then the rest on the right-hand side. If that makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So the format will also help you in squeezing things in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to move it around at the moment. It just all looks so bad. So I'm trying to figure it out. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I get it. I honestly maybe find a new format and then just bring in the information, like copy and paste into the new format, as opposed to trying to change what you already have. I would recommend that. But
okay, so last question. Would you, because I'm looking at corporate jobs, like business type of thing. So obviously when I tell them that I have taken all those like accounting classes, but if I have an MBA, isn't that a given? Like, do I need to include them at all? Because I thought it'd be good if I said like I have like marketing and accounting classes, like depending on what jobs I apply for. But then if you have an MBA, they would think that you've taken them anyway, sort of.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think, here's the thing is, yes, it's obvious, but sometimes providing that extra detail helps you, because say that you have an MBA, obviously you've taken accounting courses, of course. But if you don't have any accounting work experience, it wouldn't hurt to, maybe it's not about the course that you've taken, even though that could also be important, because not all types of or classes of accounting are taught in all schools. So if you took like a high level accounting class, I'd be interested in hearing about that. But more importantly, were there any special projects in some of your accounting classes that you worked on that are worth sharing in an interview, right? Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe show some kind of achievement, contribution, or special project that you developed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So,
no problem.
Thank you so much, Zoe, for your questions. I think it would be great for you to, after this workshop, look at our CV course in our platform, our learning platform, because it's going to be very complementary to your questions and what you're seeing here. So definitely worth checking that out as soon as you log off the workshop. Manami, if you can drop the link there to our LMS, our learning platform, it would be amazing. We have time for one more question. Oh, and just a comment from my end. I mean, it's always good to leave something for the recruiter or HR manager to ask us in the interview, right? So if we leave them space to ask us more about our MBA and our career, that's definitely like dating, right? Like you always want to leave something for the conversation face to face. But we have one question, and I'm dying to get your answer on this one, Marilyn, as well. Let me look for it here. Amazing. Alex asked this question. It's really interesting for me as well. Do you have any tips for how to get past resume screening? How do you get over that hurdle?
Are you talking about the phone screening, or are you talking about the software screening your resume to match?
I think he's talking about the password, that like the software of like getting the screening, the screening of your CV made, right? Alex, if you want, you can jump there. Software, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I think that it's all about reading the job posting. It's really, that's why that's the first thing that I recommend is put yourself in the employer's shoes. What are they looking for? So if like when I'm using a applicant tracking system, that's typically what they call them, applicant tracking system, and say I'm like, okay, like I worked in a lot of my clients are in food manufacturing, and so say a technical role would be, you know, electrical engineering, right? And so they have to have some kind of maintenance or mechanical skills. I will literally type in mechanical or maintenance, because that's like a very relevant. Or maybe is an IT kind of job and they need to have coding experience, so they have to have desktop or whatever the case may be. So I will look at keywords to see if they have that kind of experience. So a lot of times it's about the experience that you have, and maybe a skill or maybe a certification. So it's all about reading the job posting and seeing if you have, if you can see a pattern. Because some job descriptions, like they'll say, they'll have something under roles and responsibilities about, in this case, say, mechanical skills, having electrical skills, all those things. And then again, they will mention it again in their required education, right? So if you can see any patterns, that's a good way to kind of look out for how to pass that initial screening, if that makes sense.
Amazing. Well, we are at time, sadly. This was a very productive workshop. Thank you, Marilyn, so much for your time. Please feel free to drop your LinkedIn link here, or guys, search for Marilyn on LinkedIn. Sign up to our LMS so that you can learn even more about this and prep your CV, have skills for those first interviews and for this job search that you're currently in. And yeah, please take 2 minutes if you can to complete that survey that we sent there today. We had a lot of you participating, and we're really grateful for that. We want to make these events better for you. We want to continue improving them, bringing amazing speakers such as Marilyn, bringing you tools so that you can apply to your day-to-day and to your career development. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you in the next event. Thank you all.
Thank you.